যদি সবাই ফিরে যায়, ওরে ওরে ও ভাগা সবাই ফিরে যায়, যদি গহন পথে যাওয়ার কালে কেউ ফিরে না যায়, তবে পথের কাটা তুই রক্ত মাখা চরণ তলে একলা দলরে, তুই রক্ত মাখা চরণ তলে একলা দলরে, যদি তোর ডাক শুনে কেউ না আসে, তবে একলা চলো রে। যদি আলো না ধরে, ওরে ওরে ও ভাগা আলো না ধরে, যদি ঝড় বাদলে আধার রাতে দুয়ার দেয় ঘরে, তবে বজ্রানলে আপন বুকের পাঁজর জ্বালিয়ে নিয়ে একলা চলো রে, আপন বুকের পাঁজর জ্বালিয়ে নিয়ে একলা চলো রে, যদি তোর ডাক শুনে কেউ না আসে, তবে একলা চলো রে। একলা চলো, একলা চলো, একলা চলো, একলা চলো রে।
Hi guys, thank you for joining the live stream. Let me know if the audio is coming fine. Today we have back with us for the third time pioneering journalist, author of mystery thrillers, as well as a former actor, Mr. Juggi Bhasin. Thanks a lot, sir, for coming on my podcast.
Thank you so much, Rijan. Thank you so much.
Now, sir, the reason I'm wearing a red t-shirt for the first time in my live stream is because I got so late outside because of insane election-related restrictions on the roads. So, firstly, sir, the topic is going to be what is it? What does West Bengal look like to you as an outsider, as quintessential Bohiragoto? But firstly, how do you think West Bengal got to this place that elections have to become practically war zones? It almost feels like the beginning of war games between two gigantic kingdoms. That's what we are getting up for. It's not a friendly exchange of power between two governments in the same country.
Like between the US and Iran. That's what
Yeah.
you're trying to
Yeah.
say.
Yeah.
Okay. So obviously, give me a few minutes. I'll try to give you my vision. So I am
Yeah.
quite literally, and you use a very interesting word, Bohiragato. That's how you pronounce
Yeah.
it, correct? Which
Yeah,
means
Bohiragoto.
outsider.
Yeah.
Correct. That's an outsider. So I am the outsider. I have to tell all your viewers first that I will give a perspective today from the outside because I'm not in Kolkata or I'm not in West Bengal. I don't pretend to know the local politics also, but I certainly have an idea of the national level implications of these elections. These are very, very important elections. And I want to give you my outsider perspective. So bear with me. And if there are, Sri, if there are any fault lines or whatever appear, please correct me because I'm not an expert on West Bengal politics. I am just making it very, very clear. But as an interested Indian which watches Bengal very, very clearly, I have a certain point of view. Okay. So the fact of the matter is the TMC has been there in power for 15 years now. And I personally feel that largely it has ridden the regional wave of Bengali Asmita. Okay. This has been the strength, the cornerstone of TMC's entire outreach in Bengal. And now, of course, it is being challenged ferociously, I would say, by the BJP, as you rightly said. You know, the streets are like a war zone. So much is going on all over. But let's try and deconstruct for your viewers what exactly is going on. In my perspective, I think that this is actually a fight between what I call regional aspirations and a certain combination of both regional and federal aspirations. See, what do we understand? I want to take it back to very simple origins before we get down into the nitty-gritty of it. How did Mamata Banerjee come into power? What was her strength? Besides the fact that we all know she's a street fighter, she's a very savvy politician, she gives no quarter, she's a great fighter. Everyone knows that. That is not something which is hidden from anyone. But the fact is, the Bengali Asmita is a very, very important issue. But the Bengali Asmita, by the way, is not the same as, let's say, the Tamil Asmita, which has different connotations. Because Bengalis speak Bengali, they speak Hindi fluently, they are conversant in English, they have no hang-ups, that I can't speak Hindi. It's not the same thing. So what do we understand by Bengali Asmita? What do we understand by the regional aspirations of Bengal? I'll give you an example, a very interesting example, and I think that was one of the triggers why the BJP could never come in power. I don't know if it was in the last elections. I don't think so. It was in the 2021 election. I think it was in the elections before that, where I think the top leadership in the BJP in the election rallies, they were using a little derisively the term Didi o Didi, if you remember. And that backfired very, very badly in Bengal. The women voters didn't like it at all. And I think that probably played a very, very huge role in the BJP not coming to power. Besides, there were a lot of other reasons, but I think that was a very significant reason. Now, that is directly what we call Bengali Asmita, a sense of identity, a sense of who you really are. But as I said, Bengalis are so well integrated in the national mainstream that frankly, when somebody like me who's sitting in Delhi, I mean, I can't distinguish between, let's say, who's a Punjabi here or who is from UP, who is a Bania, who's a Bengali. I mean, we're the same in a certain sense. Sometimes what happens is people from the south do have a bit of an issue in integrating because of language barriers and so many other barriers, but I've never seen a Bengali who has never integrated well. So that's the first part of it. But in any case, she still used the sense of Bengali Asmita. Now, what has happened in this election is something very significant has happened. I think all these old concepts of identity, pride, and all that are important, but something bigger has taken place. I think you're a youngster. Let's start with the young. The young are frankly very, very worried about employment in Bengal. Okay. There are not enough jobs. Bengal has become what is called some kind of a labor economy where people are going out to work. The educated are leaving Bengal. The young, they want to go out. There are no industries. I think 7,000 industries have moved out of Bengal since 2011. That's a huge, huge number. And I know that there are these two fantastic schemes which Didi has in Bengal. I think one is known as the Lakshmi Bhandara scheme, which is, I think, you give around 1,500 rupees, if I'm not mistaken, to SC, ST women, and around, I think, 1,000 rupees to general category, every woman. And then there is this Yuva scheme, which I think you are given about 1,000 rupees or something. But again, on those schemes, Amit Shah has something, an ace up his sleeves. He's almost doubled the promises. 3,000 rupees both for women and for the youngsters. Now, it's a combination of various things, what's happening in Bengal. The results could go either way. I don't know, frankly, who's going to win. I know one thing, the BJP will certainly improve its tally over I think they got over 70 seats, but after some defections and all that, it was reduced to around 65 seats in the assembly, if I'm not mistaken. Today, you need around 148. That's a magic figure for a simple majority in the Bengal elections. The BJP could attain it. They might not attain it. Didi could again win again. But one thing is very, very clear. The BJP 100% will improve on its tally. It is anything from 110 to 154, as some people are saying, but let's wait and see. And it all depends upon 2 or 3 factors. One is, of course, the fact that the vote sync has to take place between 3 to 5%. And then this SIR. I think there are 60 lakh voters which are hanging loose. And out of this, 55% will not get the chance to vote. I think that's the figure, if I'm not mistaken. What today is happening from the outside, as we see it, is that there are these 3 or 4 factors. One is a federalism factor, where in terms of migration, in terms of illegal migration, the entire country in Delhi and other cities, we all watch what is happening in Murshidabad, for instance, We were watching all the all the rioting which was taking place, leaders and cars being attacked, stones being pelted. That's not a pretty sight, and that is not a regional. It is a national security issue. Let's be very, very clear about that. There are now national federal implications of what is going on in the border districts in Bengal. People are grappling with that. They are grappling, as I said, the young are grappling with unemployment. See, at India today, let me explain something, is for the youngsters, is becoming an aspirational society. Everybody wants a good job. Okay, everybody wants to rise up in life. People who have good jobs, they want to get into even better jobs. Now, tell me, you give a youngster, let's say 1,000 rupees का उसको आपने डोल दे दिया. Is he going to be happy with it? Is he going to be satisfied with it? It's not going to stop there, na? He's going to say, I need a bloody job here. But where are the jobs in Bengal? Think about it. The jobs are gone. The industry is gone. Whether you can, you can fudge figures, you can show any kind of that we have, the infrastructure, we are creating jobs through infrastructure, and we are doing so many other things. But there are actually no jobs in Bengal. It's a big, big problem today. So that is a major issue as far as I'm concerned for the youngsters in Bengal. Along with this federal issue, then this entire issue of polarization, that is a huge, huge issue. Bengal has a regional identity, not only for one community here. It's coming down to the fact that one community, a minority community, will get privileges, they will be given concessions, and the majority community is left to fend for itself, or worse, that there are people who attack the leaders of that community. I mean, I don't even want to name the communities, you know what I'm talking about. But this polarization thing is no longer a regional thing. When you say regional, then it has national implications. So today, the voter in Bengal, I think, is going to vote not only for regional issues, for regional identity, he's going to vote for national considerations also. National considerations mean कि ये migration कैसे बंद होगी, illegal migration जो आ रही है. And look at another very interesting development. All the people who are writing in all these border districts. Today, the same Bangladesh, after a change of government, Tariq Rahman, what does Tariq Rahman do? Tariq Rahman sends his foreign minister to New Delhi. Why? Because he wants good relations with India. Look at the sea changes happening besides Pakistan. Pakistan is, of course, a different case. All the countries in the subcontinent, including Bangladesh, including Nepal, including Sri Lanka, including Maldives, everybody wants good relations with India. The current crisis that is going on in the Gulf War, India is the only country which is by and large affected by it, but not so badly affected by it as, let's say, all these other countries. Now, if your border stabilizes, let's say, with Bangladesh, okay, because people are seeing, they are watching all these things, then why are people writing in the border districts? Who is making them write? These are questions which people are, I think, are asking, And it's incumbent, because TMC is the government in power. They have to answer these questions whether they like it or not. You can't just say, the government is only there for a particular community. It has to be there for all the communities. So this is the overall scenario. I think people are going to vote in these elections, both for regional aspirations as well as for national aspirations. There is a lot at stake. There is a question of identity at stake. There is a question of that can we allow, certain tendencies to come in where certain communities are given preference over the other communities. That cannot be allowed to happen in a federal structure. This is also at stake. Employment is at stake. There are no jobs. The job situation is very, very bad. Then the border districts are on fire. And then the SIR thing. Now, here's my logic, and I'll explain my logic to you. When this SIR thing was going on, this intensive revision, just think about it, and nobody's talked about this. Supposing if the TMC had actually supported it, think about it. And they would say, yeah, it's a good thing because there is a possibility there might be a lot of people who might be deceased, there might be names which are, they have to be cancelled, or maybe there are people who are illegal migrants. The TMC would have won kudos from all over the country, that they are not only restricting themselves to a particular community, but they are thinking beyond that. But they didn't do that. Okay. My point is, when you take a stand which is so blatantly in your face, the whole country is saying, yaar, ye log jo hain, these people don't even exist. Some of them are dead. Okay. Their names have to be struck off. Why do you think the Supreme Court is not siding on these matters with the teams? Because it's so very clear to everyone what's going on, that these are fake names, most of them. A lot of these people are illegal migrants, just by having Aadhaar card. तो श्री मैं आधार कार्ड रहा हूं तो मैं आज एक फेक आज बनवा के मैं भी बढ़ जाता हूं. It's the simplest thing in the world to do. What's so difficult about that? That is not proof of identity. So I'm saying these are the issues which are there in front of the people, and that is why the choice today is a very, very important choice. It's a very volatile choice. It's a choice which is obviously causing a lot of, as I said, tension, and maybe can violence bhi ho sakti hai kal, who never knows. We don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. But I think it's a very significant choice which people have to make now, because there's a lot at stake, both in terms of regional aspirations and national aspirations.
Yeah. Now, sir, if in a state like West Bengal, the elections have to be held as if they are being conducted in a war-stricken African country, then obviously it's not a very normal society, and a lot of damage has taken place in the society in every way, economically, socially, etc. How much of the damage do you think might be irreversible? Because the degree of damage is obviously very high. Is a lot of it even irreversible?
Some of it will leave scars. They will leave huge scars, and I'll tell you why. Look at the history of elections in Bengal. There was the old Congress times, Siddharth Shankar Reke times, and all that, when he was, the Congress era was there. Then the CPIM came, and the CPIM, how many years did they were there for so many years, but there was so much of violence. Okay, now the TMC has come. A lot of people say that the same CPIM cadres, they went into the TMC and all that, but that the rioting on the fighting on the streets and all that did not stop. That actually picked up even more. So I'm saying there is a legacy, unfortunately, of violence associated with elections in Bengal. It is there in other states also. I'm not saying it's only specific to Bengal, but the legacy is very much there. And my point is, the feeling which I get from the outside is that politicians are very, chalta hai type. People are not worried about it, that this can change the character of the state. For instance, when this KG car medical case happened, this rape and murder, RG car, I was shocked. And I'll tell you why I was shocked. I was shocked because I could not imagine something like that to happen in Bengal. I mean, it can happen in Delhi. You would say, हाँ, Delhi में तो ऐसा कुछ हो सकता है, होता रहता है. But in Bengal, women being disrespected, being abused like this, it's unheard of. Which means that fundamentally something is happening in our society. The violence is permeating at certain levels in society. People not behaving normally, a lot of people. And when you said that, can this change, can this damage? Of course it will damage. And these scars will continue for a long, long time. They're not just going to go away after 4th of May when we will know who has won Bengal. They're going to continue after that, definitely. Which is sad for a state, such a refined and intellectual state like Bengal. It's a pity that you have something like this which is going on.
Sir, why is India in general such a low trust society, and even inside India, why are some states like some in the Northeast or Kerala and Goa, only they are high trust societies?
See, ऐसा नहीं है कि केरला में violence नहीं होती है. See, there are a lot of these attacks which have happened on RSS cadres and all that in Kerala. But by and large, the levels of violence are still, I would say, a little in check in states like Kerala and all that compared to, let's say, in Bengal. Because unfortunately, what has happened in Bengal is, which is very, very strange. I'll tell you the strange thing which I find, again, as the outsider. You have a people who are generally very sensitive, I would say intellectual, people who are hardworking, people who want to move up in life. And there is a very small percentage of people who, that gunda culture is also very much here. The goon culture. वो मतलब अगर नक्सलवारी मूवमेंट के टाइम पे चले जाओ तो it all started from there only na. It's been continuing, it hasn't completely stopped. So it takes different forms in terms of different political parties at various points in time, but violence has been endemic, it has continued. Now that problem is not so much there. Let's say in Delhi, comparison Delhi mein you don't have cadre based violence. Delhi mein you have plain stupid gundagardi. The idiotic kinds where somebody gets drunk and he will create a ruckus, and you will have road rage. Somebody is driving in a big car and he will run over somebody. That kind of stupidity happens in Delhi. In Bengal, the problem is there is cadre based violence, especially during elections, which is very unfortunate, and it is a little dangerous also. But it's been there for a long, long time, unfortunately.
Yeah. How have you seen Bengal evolve over the years as an outsider? What have been the changing impressions of Bengal in your eyes?
See, I personally am very fond of Bengali society, the culture. As an ex-journalist, as a theatre person, as somebody who has written 7 books, there are so many figures here from Bengal you take inspiration from. There are so many figures. I can't even begin to count on that. For me, that is the real Bengal, though I understand वो भी एक romantic vision है to a certain extent. I know, we can kind of romanticize the whole thing, but it is a fact there is a certain intellectual veneer to the ordinary Bengali. He's a far more sensitive, sensible person. All the quirkiness of a Bengali, like you have, the brashness, let's say, of a Punjabi like me. These are our specialities as Indians, which we all have. So in that sense, I have seen. But what worries me is when we are talking about Bengal is this, that I don't like this polarization which is going on. This hardness which has come, especially in the border areas in Bengal. People are behaving that this is some part of bloody Bangladesh or something. Yeah, what the hell is that? What kind of rubbish is this? Okay, you might be an illegal migrant, you might have come over there, you might have got a fake Aadhaar card and all that, but you're behaving as if you don't belong to India. You're very much in India. And if that's the case, then you please go back to where you came from. That's the problem. There are people who behave as if these ghettos in which a lot of people live in, nobody can come here, nobody can touch us, we can do whatever we want, we can get away with whatever we want. That is unfortunately a big problem which I see, especially in the border districts, Tumhare 24 Parganas, Murshidabad, Malda, and all these places, which is endemic, which is going on and on. It's not coming to a stop. That worries me seriously about Bengal. But I still feel the core of Bengali culture, society is still intact. It's very much sensible, and hopefully it will settle down. Things will settle down. I'm optimistic.
Based on your experience of having interacted in the political world or been around politicians and stuff, what do you think is the personality of Mamata Banerjee right now? Right now, or in general, what has it been like in the last 15 years?
See, you have to give it to her. I am always very respectful to women who are strong, who make a name for themselves, because it is not easy to be a strong woman in a man's world. I'm being honest with you. You might have political differences with Mamata Banerjee. You might not, let's say, appreciate the ideology of her party, but give it to her. She's a very strong lady. She's a fighter. There's no question about it. She doesn't bow to threats very easily. These are all the plus points of Mamata Banerjee. These are great points. I somehow feel that since she's been a fighter all her life, See, what happens is when a person, you lead battles, you fight all the time, you sometimes becomes so much a part of your personality that sometimes you maybe tend to ignore the more reasonable things which are there around you. So what I mean to say is, in terms of accommodation of space, mind space to
Yeah.
other political parties, in terms of being more flexible about certain issues, वो थोड़ी इनफ्लेक्सिबिलिटी कभी कभी मेरे को ममता दीदी में दिखाई देती है. I'm being honest about it. But at a certain level, I have nothing but admiration for the kind of person she is. But then, as I say, everything, there is a time for everything. There's a time for even the top figures, and a time comes and maybe there's a time for change, and you have to make way for the new. Maybe it's time now to try somebody else in Bengal, give somebody like a Suvendu, Adhikari, maybe a chance. I don't know. And I'm not even sure he will be the CM candidate, by the way. It could be somebody else. If the BJP wins, they could come up with a new rabbit, out of the hat. You never know with the BJP. But maybe it's time for a change, because 15 years is a hell of a long time, by the way. 15 years is not, it's a lifetime in a politician, if you think about it. But mixed feelings, really appreciative of how strong she is, what a fighter she is. But I think there are certain policies where she's like, especially in this communal polarization thing, I think something needs to change out there. I'm not very happy about that. What's going on?
So would you agree with me if I said that she only had misdirected competence all her political career, and she is practically a wasted potential, that if she put all this election winning capabilities and did good for Bengal, she could have done a lot for maybe even national politics and maybe for the country as well.
In hindsight, we can talk about this about any person. That person could have had so much of potential. People say the same thing about Modi also, by the way. So we don't know. I mean, I'm being honest about it. There are a lot of people who are very happy with Modi, but there are a lot of people say, oh, he could have done more. Same applies to so many other politicians also. So we don't know. Honestly, we don't know. We don't have the answer. Maybe politics in India is a 24/7 survival job. You're constantly surviving, because you never know where the next attack is going to come from. And somebody like Mamata Banerjee, the kind of politics she plays, she will be expecting an attack from somewhere or the other. So maybe she's always in that mode, a fight mode, fight. So settling down in terms of calmness, somebody like, let me give you another example, a very interesting example. Somebody like a Biju Patnaik, for instance, the ex-CM of Orissa. Whenever you look at Orissa, when you look at Biju Patnaik, you always get the sense of calmness when you look at him. कि ये बहुत ही एक calm इंसान है. He unruffled. He will continue. He does things in a very calm, almost meditative way. That's the feeling which you get about Biju Patnaik. But unfortunately, not many politicians like that are there today. So today, a politician job is like fight, and that's it. They know nothing else. So what they could have turned out to be is again a guessing game. I don't know about that.
Keeping in mind the context of what's going on in the world right now, how important do you think it is for Modi that BJP wins elections in West Bengal?
I think there's a lot at stake this time. There's a lot at stake. See, because there are two factors. Last time what had happened was, the story of last time, the elections in Bengal, was not even the TMC winning the elections and the BJP actually not doing so well. Everybody thought that they would get over 100 seats, but they landed just, I think, 72, 73. I don't know what was the exact count. 77 was the exact count. The real story of the last assembly elections in Bengal was the violence, the post-election violence took place. That, to my mind, was a real story. It was uncontrollable. I personally feel at that time, if the TMC was involved, it was certainly not the right thing. But I think even the central government failed. What were they doing? Were they sleeping about it? How did you allow such violence to overtake? This is the thing which I don't understand. People win and lose all the time. Okay, you might have lost an election, but that doesn't mean you abandon your people, because the people are looking from you that can you protect me, especially when the chips are down. And there was no one to protect a lot of innocent people. A lot of innocent people were brutalized. Some were killed also in that violence which took place. And that's why I'm very, very happy this time. At least I think that's been the policy, that the Election Commission has said that the central forces, paramilitary forces, are going to remain in Bengal after the elections for a number of days after that, to control any post-election violence. I think that's very, very important.
There was a guy called Avijit Sarkar who had joined the BJP just a few months or just a while before the elections, and he was a very renowned animal rights activist and stray dog feeder, rescuer and stuff. And he, including all his stray dogs adopted inside his home, were also beaten to death, and even the newborn puppies were beaten to death. Anyway, where do you think Narendra Modi stands in the world right now? How bothered must he be with what's going on with Iran and USA?
Is there in front of you? I think we have conducted ourselves quite brilliantly, I would say. And I'm not saying this because I'm some kind of a Modi bhakt or a Modi fan or anything of that sort. But look at what is happening with all the other countries. Pakistan is on the verge of bankruptcy. You know, there are now serious differences which have emerged about what Asim Munir is doing. Iran is not very happy. They think he's a very biased party. Look at all, Sri Lanka is literally begging for oil from us, you know. What's happening in Nepal and all these other countries. What's happening in the US also, for that matter. You know, the prices of oil have gone up and people are very, very angry out there. In comparison, I think Modi has handled things pretty well in India. You know, no doubt there has been some pressure from this entire war, but the LPG prices, domestic prices haven't gone up. Oil prices haven't gone up. You know, they are still the same. The government is holding the line, which is remarkable. You would expect these prices to have shot up quite a bit, but they haven't. That shows good management. And then you are coming out, you are making your alternative arrangements for oil supply, LPG supply, for fertilizer and everything. That is also happening at the same time. You're also, look, I've written some articles on this. They have been published in some newspapers and other places, where I'm arguing that the only country which is being applauded by the United States, by Israel, and by Iran happens to be India. Look at the irony of the whole thing. These three countries are locked in war. And yet all the three countries, including Iran, they are saying that India is an honest partner. They were, I believe, quite apologetic about that firing which happened on that Indian ship by the IRGC. But they are, they say that we need India. India is a good friend of ours. They don't trust Pakistan, by the way. They trust India. So you must be doing something right, na? Your Prime Minister must be doing something right, that everybody around you is saying that you're doing a great job. I was watching this interview, by the way, the day before, yesterday, I think, by Geeta Gopinath, who was the IMF chief and all that. And she also said, all of a sudden, India has done fairly well, you know, as compared to so many other countries. Look at what's happening in Europe. Look at what's happening all over the world, actually. I think in comparison, we are doing pretty okay.
Where do you see the war going?
Oh, we are in for bad times. No question about it. We are in for bad times. I predict that this Gulf War, even if some agreement is patchwork agreement they reach or whatever, it's not going to settle down. I personally feel cities like Dubai, Abu Dhabi, these are gone for quite some time. It'll take a long, long time for them to recover. For the oil routes to come back, to go back to the original position, it'll take a lot of time. It's going to start impacting on so many of our people are working in all these countries. Let's see how many of them can retain their jobs. That's a big, big question. That question is up in the air. We'll know after maybe 2 or 3 months what the position is, because there could be job losses there also. The oil purchasing capability, you know, it's already gone up. So it's not a great scenario. And it's true not only for India, it's true for all the countries in the world, actually. So yeah, this has triggered off something which is like even worse than COVID, I would say, in a certain sense.
Unless the Islamic regime goes out of power completely, will Israel take things lying down?
See, Israel marches to its own drumbeat. You have to understand something about Israel. It's the only country in the world which will do whatever it thinks is best for itself. It doesn't bother with your sensitivity or somebody else's sensitivity. And my personal feeling is it doesn't even bother with the US's sensitivity. It will do whatever it thinks is right for itself, which is at one level, it's a great attribute here. But they obviously go very, very far every time, whatever they do. So I personally feel whether you reach a ceasefire or you reach a peace deal with Iran, they will continue to attack Hezbollah, Hamas, all these. They will not stop that. No question about it. The Iran thing, let's wait and see what happens vis-a-vis Iran and Israel. But what has really happened is the focus has moved away from Israel to the relationship between the United States and Iran. How the US now handles Iran, that has become the central question. It's no longer so much about how Israel handles Iran. You see, the entire, the entire shift has taken place towards the US-Iran equation. That is the new emphasis. And how that pans out, what happens out there, that will determine. So in one sense, actually, Israel, if you ask me, in a very clinical sense, they have already realized their objectives. Okay? They were very clear from the beginning what they wanted. Of all the countries in the region, I've written this somewhere in one of my articles, that both Israel and Iran, in a strange way, were very clear of their objectives. The US was not. The US was changing its objectives on a daily basis, what it really wanted from the conflict. Israel was very clear. It wanted to destroy Iran. It wants to destroy Hezbollah. It wants to destroy Hamas. It wants to destroy all the, people who are against it. Iran is very clear that it wants to survive, and not only survive, but hit back. That clarity is very much there in Iran, which is so surprising. And whether we like it or not, you have to praise them also for their attitude, The only country I thought which was completely a little confused in the entire thing was the United States. They were not clear of their objectives at all. They still are not very clear. I don't know what they are doing with the blockade. What is the use of this blockade which they have started? If the idea is to put pressure on Iran, see, you can put whatever kind of pressure on Iran. I personally don't think so. They're going to change a lot. They're a country which is already used to pain and suffering and living under pressure. So you put more pressure on them, you stop their oil, that so-called $500 million loss every day, they will still somehow continue. That's my own feeling.
We have a viewer from Iran. She is now kind of absconding from Iran and lives in safe, beautiful India. She's saying Israel is also part of the picture, sir.
Yes, Israel is definitely part of the picture, but your viewer would agree with me that today what has happened is the real story is what is unfolding between the United States and Iran. See, at the end of the day, the US still has the capacity to control Israel. They do have the capacity. If they really, really want to, they can curtail all the activities of Israel. They can do that. And there is, I think, personally, if you ask me, I think there's a lot of pressure on Donald Trump. There's a lot of pressure on the US administration to get a solution out of the entire thing. What people keep calling off-ramp literally means they need a solution. They need this entire thing. It's like you have lit the fire, but you can't now control the blaze. That's kind of a scenario. And therefore, the US needs a solution, but the solution is very elusive at the moment. And Iran, by the way, perfectly well knows it. They might be suffering, they might be in a lot of pain, but they will stretch this as much as possible because they don't want to accept the terms which the US wants to impose on them. So that's the story right now. Right now, as far as the lady asked the question about Israel, see, Israel is at the moment more focused on Hezbollah. Okay, that particular thing is still going on, and I have a feeling it will continue after this also. It's not going to stop. Okay, because Israel, by and large, I think they have realized they have completed their objectives vis-a-vis Iran, but the problem, the thing with Hezbollah is going to continue. And there are a lot of
So
interesting developments
go on.
taking place in that part of the world also. The Lebanese prime minister, by the way, he met Macron. Okay. So even the Lebanese prime minister, they have started saying we don't want the Hezbollah. So, there are a lot of straws in the wind. Let's see how it goes. It's anybody's game right now. But yeah, the situation is very complex, very confusing. And I don't think so an easy solution is around the corner. Not at all.
So I was about to ask you a particular question that can be sort of added with her next question as well. That viewer from Iran is asking, StreamYard is a little slow today. I would like to know about your views on China and Iran, and I will just add my question along with it, which is, during the course of this entire war, did you at any point, as a layperson, as a guy sitting far away, a non-stakeholder third party, did you develop some sympathies for Iran as well, as sort of the cute little underdog who got forcefully inducted into this war against its wishes? So it was kind of an unprovoked war on their side. Did you have sympathies for that? And what about your views on China as well?
I'll be very honest with you. Earlier, maybe 1.5 months back, when all those reports were coming in that, all the protests which are happening in Iran, young people, especially the women, they were being brutally dealt by the IRGC. I wasn't happy about it. And I think no sensible person would be happy about it, because people have rights. You can have an Islamic regime, but that should not stop you from giving rights to people. These are basic human fundamental rights. So that was there. So there was certainly a very negative image of Iran in the public mind, including in my mind also. But I have to say, ever since this war has started, and what all the US has been saying, has been doing, you can't help but feel some empathy for Iran also, because it's not fair. You can attack their bases, you can attack their navy, their air force and all that. That happens in war, that's fine. But when all this bombing and everything takes place, you think civilians are not killed in it? Like that bridge which they bombed in Iran. There were civilians on that bridge. Hundreds must have died on that bridge only, So it's sad. It's the girls' school in Minab, which was which was bombed. More than 150 girls were killed in that. I mean, who can not but condemn and feel horror at what has happened, So to that extent, Iran at the moment does enjoy a lot of, I would say, empathy in the world. And we are no different in that sense. And that is why I'm saying some solution now has to come. If US is if assumingly they are the more mature, they are the more bigger, they are the bigger side, obviously, then it's incumbent upon them to come up with a slightly more fair solution. See, you give them these 10 points or whatever, surrender, first say surrender, then you give up your missiles and you give up your nuclear material. What kind of a deal? That's not a deal, huh? That is like saying that I've taken a gun, I'm pointing it to your head, and you just have to put your hands up and say surrender. That's not deal. The deal doesn't happen like that. You have to take maybe some of their considerations. What is Iran saying? Iran is saying that we are not interested in a nuclear weapon. So then you have to work around that, establish IAEA safeguards, inspections that they don't build a nuclear weapon. That's the first part. Number two, they are saying that we can't give our missile program because we needed protection not only from Israel but even from the Gulf kingdoms. Okay, that's their argument. So try and meet them halfway. What you can do is that maybe you can come up with a plan that, okay, you can develop a certain range of missiles, certain powerful, not very powerful missiles, but missiles which can defend your country. So there are solutions to everything. But if you just have this approach, this way or the highway, my way or the highway, then there was bound to be a problem.
So we have some interesting questions from the audience. What do you make of Amit Shah being so involved in Bengal elections this time?
Well, Amit Shah is always involved here. Amit Shah is
Yeah.
always involved in all the elections. I have never
Yeah.
seen a time when from the BJP Amit Shah is not involved.
Yeah.
He is, I mean, you've got to admire the energy of this man here, whether you like it or not.
Yeah.
As I said, I admire the energy of Mamata Banerjee, but I also admire the energy of Amit Shah, for that matter, even Modi. At their age, all of them, they are like going from one meeting to the other. It's an inspiration to all of us. So Amit Shah is both a tactician and a strategist. There's a difference between a tactician and a strategist. He's both. He thinks both short term as well as long term. And for a guy like that, he doesn't just plan in his drawing room in his official residence in New Delhi. He's a man who always hits the ground. Always. Every election rally, Amit Shah will be there. So that's the speciality of the BJP, by the way. All their top leaders, Modi, Amit Shah, Yogi, these are people who just, they hit the field like this. They don't need any encouragement to do that. So Amit Shah is bound to be there. I'm not surprised.
Now we have a slightly provocative question. Do you think Bengal needs a bit of a hardline Yogi Raj to fix its law and order issue, even if it means overriding some democratic or federal features?
By the way, I don't think so. Yogi has overridden democratic features in Uttar Pradesh. I don't think so. He's still working under the law. This entire bulldozer, the Raj, which people keep talking about. See, there is a way that when strictures are passed by the court, there is a way you address those issues, you interact with the court. So he's not doing anything unlawful. I don't think so. So Yogi, by the way, is campaigning in Bengal. We know that. And I think there's you would know better. You have a Nath community or something. He represents that also, which Yogi is addressing, Yogi will play a very pivotal role. See, even what happens is that there are certain significant communities which you can swing towards your way. That makes all the difference in a close election. Okay? In a close election, let's say how the Matua community, for instance, is behaving, how they want to vote. What do they think? How do the Nath community, how do they want to vote? How are the Muslims, how do they want to vote? What is the ordinary, let's say, Hindu Bengali, let's say, in Kolkata? What is he thinking? How does he want to vote? So significantly, these small things then add up into a larger thing. And Yogi, I think, will play a significant role in swinging certain sections of the Bengali community in these elections. It's bound to. He has that charisma and he has that reach to do that.
What are the national elections or national politics going to look like in 2029?
Well, there are two schools of thought, The one is that the world is probably heading in a worse way. Things will get more and more tougher. The GDP will contract. See, a country like India, we actually need almost close to 8% growth, because those are the kind of jobs we need to produce, because we have so many young people who are aspiring for jobs. And that is why so many of our young people, they go outside the country to get jobs. Now, if that doesn't happen, then there is a problem on hand, and that can reflect in 2029. Okay? So that is why when this women reservation bill was defeated, there were a lot of people who felt that maybe the Prime Minister might just resign. He was waiting for that, so that elections could be called, and therefore he could come back with a very strong 2/3 majority or something, because it will become a little difficult in 2029 to get these many seats. That's one school of thought, but you never know how events pan out. Let's wait and see. Things look very bad at the moment, but they could all settle down. Things could get back to normal. We could get back to maybe over 7% growth. Let's see. If that happens, then it'll be much more smooth sailing for the BJP.
What are your views on delimitation? I mean, on the one hand, it is kind of unfair on the south, but now we have constituencies which are impossible to be managed. Even if it was the most honest person in the world, or even if God became an MP, he would not be able to manage a constituency. They are so big and so populated.
My simple question is, why are we such hypocrites? What is a democracy? Let's forget delimitation for a moment. What is a democracy? A democracy is that you have a right to vote. Majority of the people, when they vote for a particular candidate, then that candidate wins and becomes a lawmaker. That means he either goes to the assembly or he goes to parliament. Okay. Now, the fact is, whether we like it or not, there is more population which is in the northern states. There might be less population in the southern states. Now, if the population is declining, let's say in the southern states, now, are you going to then penalize the north for that? That delimitation cannot be done, and that when you do that, are you giving proper representation to the people, let's say in the northern states? I'm just giving you a theoretical example. The point which I'm making is, at the end of the day, your voting pattern has to be proportional to the population also. It can't be disproportionate to the population. You might have a huge population, but your seats are very less. And there are people who are arguing, and look at the stupidity of their argument. There are people who are saying the southern states, industrially are doing so well. They contribute so much to the GDP. So therefore, they should get higher representation in terms of seats. Now, what kind of a stupid argument is that? I mean, there are sensible. There is this lady who writes for the Indian Express column every week. I will not take a name. And she's arguing this on national television. These are the kind of arguments people are making. I mean, it's stupidity here. Democracy is an attribute to your strength in terms of population. There has to be proportionality in terms of that. You can't just cook up things from the air that because you have an industrial base, or you are very nice people, or you have been discriminated for centuries, so therefore I will give you 2x more voting rights than somebody else will get. People in UP will not get so many voting rights as somebody else will get. What kind of logic is that? I mean, it's stupidity. So delimitation ka matlab yehi hai. Delimitation. See, the Women's Reservation Bill, by the way, a lot of people don't understand, can only be passed if first delimitation happens. You can't pass the Women's Reservation Bill because you're talking of a certain chunk of seats which will go to women. Now, that will only go when there's a proportional increase in terms of the seats overall in Parliament. This is the point which escapes people.
Yeah. We have another audience question. If BJP swings Bengal and if they make headways, they don't win but make headways into Tamil Nadu and Kerala, what would this imply for national politics? Will BJP be able to push back on some of the anti-incumbency vibes a few years back?
Will the BJP push back a few anti-incumbency vibes a few years back? See, I'm also going by what opinion polls are saying. There is a school of thought that even in Tamil Nadu, it's going to be a very close election. Okay. There are some pollsters who are saying that even the NDA has a chance of winning these elections. So let's see.
I see.
Bengal, if you really ask my personal opinion, I think it will be a close election. It could go either way. Let's wait and see. But whatever happens right now, you have to understand something. At the moment, at least, I don't know about tomorrow, the country's best interests are still represented best by the ruling party at the moment, whether we like it or not. I wish there was more serious alternatives in the Congress party. I wish. But they're not there at the moment. You needed a better argument, better policies. I find the principal opposition party is constantly engaged in negative politics in terms of BJP ne ye kar diya, BJP ne wo kar diya. Arey bhai, tum kya kar rahe ho? What are you doing about? What are your policies? What is your vision for the country? So at the moment, I think overall, even in these elections, my own gut feeling is the BJP might just be on a winning track. That's my own feeling. I'm just giving you my own thing, but I could be totally wrong about this also. They might scrape through in Bengal. They will do definitely well in Tamil Nadu. Maybe they might not win the elections, the NDA, but they will do certainly well. Assam, definitely they will win, I think. Kerala, in Kerala, even if they marginally gain a few percentage points and all that, it's very good for them. Because BJP thinks long term, it thinks in the next 10, 15, 20 years, what are we going to do in a state? So Kerala is a long term project for them. It's not going to happen in a day that you will change. The BJP is going to come into power. That's not going to happen so quickly. So overall, if you look at a macro picture, the BJP still is on a good winning wicket, I think. It is.
Are you worried about the worsening condition of the entire world? We are still in the developmental phase. We get a speed bump. We got a speed bump with COVID as well, and we are behind on our goals. Is 2047 delusional? Viksit Bharat.
Good question. Is 2047 delusional? At the moment, it does seem to be delusional with what's going on in the world. But then we are not the only people who are suffering. We actually are the least suffering people. It's happening all over the world, As I said, the most advanced country in the world, the US. Look at the polarization of politics in the US. I mean, let's talk a little bit about that. People are completely polarized in the US, much, much more even than in India, I would say. Things are not looking good. Overall, I agree. We thought that COVID was the end of things, but this also looks pretty bad. And my own feeling is, because the Trump administration is there for maybe another 2.5 years or whatever, midterms, whatever might happen or not happen, but the president still has a lot of powers even after that. So I think these policies will continue for the next quite some time. And I don't see world conditions improving. I see them deteriorating, actually. So let's wait and see and how things happen. At the moment, it doesn't appear very, very good. I agree with that.
We have another provocative question. Is it time for a new pro-Hindu government to emerge, which is not as slacky as BJP? As people say, BJP will eventually become like Congress and the Indie bloc will become the new Muslim League.
You have some very interesting people asking very interesting questions.
Yeah.
See, boss, I'm not a soothsayer here. I have no idea. I am not Nostradamus that I can predict what's going to happen tomorrow. But as
make an educated guess. Yeah,
the educated guess is right now the only so-called pro-Hindu party is a BJP. There's no other party. You don't expect the Bajrang Dal or the VHP to emerge as a national party. That's not going to happen. No way. See, even, let me put it this way. Let's, on a serious note, even the BJP is a cautious Hindu-oriented party. Cautious. They have never, actually, if you look closely at what Modi has said or Amit Shah has said, they have never taken anti-Muslim line or something. In fact, Nadda, who used to be the Congress president before the new fellow, he has always been he has been criticized also for that. He's tried to actually bring the Muslims, he's trying to assimilate the Muslims into the overall vision of what the BJP wants to achieve.
Yeah.
So that's the BJP. The BJP is, see, the BJP also is not only the BJP for India, also the BJP, Modi has an internationalist image. Okay?
Yes.
He has a world image. And the world image means as a mature, sensible person who does not, there's all this Gujarat talk and all that. That's all gone now. Today, if you go to Europe, they think of Modi as a very, very mature statesman, So the BJP is managing a lot of these different equations to have a right-wing, totally right-wing. By the way, there is no such thing as right-wing in India. This is a misnomer.
That is the next question.
Right-wing log bolte hain na, BJP is a right-wing government. We are all shades of a little bit of the left, by the way, in India. All the parties.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yes.
Socialist policies abhi bhi chal rahi hain.
Yeah. That is the next question, sir. Can we have a more economically right-wing capitalist party that supports libertarian pro-market policies more openly than the current pragmatic BJP?
I just answered that before this question was asked. I answered that question. Sir, there is no such thing as a right-wing, hardcore right-wing party in India. People think the BJP is that. It is not. The BJP has a certain spectrum of socialism and leftist. What do you think all the social agenda is all about? all the Ayushman Bharat and all the Ration scheme. This is all socialism to a certain extent.
Yes.
Right wing parties है ही नहीं यार कोई इंडिया में कोई नहीं है. There used to be a long back. There used to be a party called Swatantra Party in India, which was actually the original right wing party. That's it. और कोई भी नहीं है.
No, the question kind of here is that can we have? Is it on the pipelines? Do you see one on the horizon?
Can we have? No, I don't think so. We can have, and I'll tell you the reason for that. See, India is not a homogeneous society. India is a heterogeneous society. We are such diverse people in terms of ethnicity, religion, and taste, food, this, that, whatever. You can't see for a right-wing party, the last right, जो तुम्हारे नाजी जर्मनी में जैसे था, या अमेरिका में जब था, अब वो सारे अगर वाइट से इकट्ठे हो जाएंगे, तो you can have a right-wing kind of a coalition. But in a diverse country like India, how do you think you can have a right-wing party? नहीं हो सकता. Impossible.
What about economic right-wing party?
See, you are today what is called a pragmatic economic power. Okay, a pragmatic economic power is very different from a right-wing party. Right-wing is a very specific economic term. You need to follow certain policies for that. I don't think so we follow any of those policies. Some policies, yes, industrialization and all that. But capitalism, yes, all that is there. But that is also under control of overall arching of the state. There is a term in Nehru ke time, a term used was it was called the commanding heights of economy. The commanding heights of economy still exists, by the way. It hasn't completely gone away.
Yeah. Okay then, sir. We'll speak with you again after 4th May when the results are declared. Hopefully, things will turn out good and I'll be safe. See you soon then.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, and goodbye to all your viewers. And please go out and vote. And and very keenly waiting what happens next in Bengal. Like all of you, I'm also very keen to know what happens next out there.
Thank you, sir. Good night, sir. Good night, guys. Good night, guys. Thank you for joining.
যদি সবাই ফিরে যায় ওরে ওরে ও ভাগা সবাই ফিরে যায় যদি গহন পথে যাওয়ার কালে কেউ ফিরে না যায় তবে পথের কাটা তুই রক্ত মাখা চরণ তলে একলা দলরে তুই রক্ত মাখা চরণ তলে একলা দলরে যদি তোর ডাক শুনে কেউ না আসে তবে একলা চলো রে যদি আলো না ধরে ওরে ওরে ও ভাগা আলো না ধরে যদি ঝড় বাদলে আধার রাতে দুয়ার দেয় ঘরে তবে বজ্রানলে আপন বুকের পাঁজর জ্বালিয়ে নিয়ে একলা চলো রে আপন বুকের পাঁজর জ্বালিয়ে নিয়ে একলা চলো রে যদি তোর ডাক শুনে কেউ না আসে তবে একলা চলো রে একলা চলো একলা চলো